Am I an idiot for not telling my dad he isn't getting the inheritance he is expecting? My mother died when I was 16. My dad married another woman 2 years later. My grandparents, my dad's parents, hate my stepmother. I really don't like her either. Even after my half-siblings were born, my grandparents never warmed up to her. My grandparents are quite wealthy. My father has been banking on this inheritance for a while. He has even been not paying into his retirement because he's so sure that he will inherit the millions. I just found out on set that I'm getting the majority of my grandparents' estate. My father is getting a token amount of $50,000, so he can't dispute it. My grandparents made me promise not to give out any money after, and I intend to keep my word. But I do feel really guilty that my father just spends his money as it's coming in because he's relying on money he won't get. I also found out my dad is in a lot of debt. Am I an idiot for not telling him? A lot of people have asked me for updates, so I thought I'd make one. It was kind of positive. I agreed with many comments in my first post where they said my grandparents were setting me up for drama. I talked to my grandparents and shared these concerns. They were understanding and set up a family meeting with them, their lawyer, my dad, his wife, and myself. I was secretly hoping that my grandparents would get over some of their issues with my dad and his wife. But nope. My dad's wife actually started crying and wailing when they revealed that I would be getting most of the inheritance. I could see my grandmother almost exploding. My dad, to his credit, looked disappointed but said it was their money to do as they wished. The new agreement is that my father will receive $75K, and each of my younger siblings will receive a 50 Kelvin education fund. My dad's wife did call me a few days later and acted really foolishly, and she somehow thought that insulting my mother would help her. I told her that if she ever said something bad about my mother again, I would tell my grandparents about it. That seems to have shut her up. My relationship with my dad was never the greatest, but I haven't really seen any further decline in the relationship. But I feel a lot of relief now. Thanks everyone, not an idiot. But be very prepared for all hell to break loose when your grandparents pass away, and make damn sure your father and stepmother do not have a backdoor way into your finances. They will try to guilt trip you, so be prepared for that too. MTA, tell your dad at least about what your dad's wife said. He is obviously with a horrible woman but thinks the pros outweigh the cons. He needs to actually know about the bad stuff when it happens. People like her know which persona to show to which people to try and get what they want. What would you do if you were the dad? Let me know in the comments. Now, you won't want to miss this next story. Am I an idiot for not letting my sister see her kids? I, female 28, obtained custody of my sisters, female 35, kids 9, male 4, female, and 2, female, back in 2018, after she left them alone for 2 weeks to go on a trip, drug bender. Of course, this was a huge transition for the kiddos. They had to be moved schools and daycares, and of course couldn't see their mom anymore. Now, the kids are doing better and definitely lead happier lives. Recently, though, my sister was released from prison and wants to see the kids again. She called me, begging to have a visit with them, and telling me that I could give them back because she was out of prison now. I've had a talk with the 9-year-old, and he says that he doesn't want to see his mom yet, and that he still hates her for leaving him alone. The girls have no memories of her, and the smallest one was only 3 months old the last time she saw her. I do feel like I could have helped them foster a better relationship with her, but I don't want to force the oldest into meeting her when he absolutely doesn't want to. Still, my close family has told me that the oldest doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's my fault the little ones don't remember their mother because I didn't take them to see her when she was in prison. They also told me that it's my responsibility to force them to meet her, even when they don't want to, because that's what's best for them and they shouldn't grow up without their mother. So, am I an idiot? Edit, I have spoken to a professional about this, specifically the oldest therapist. They have advised that it should be up to him. I just want to know if I'm being a jerk to my sister. Also, I have adopted the kids and have full custody of them, so I wasn't expecting to make an update post, because I honestly wasn't expecting there to be an update to this. Unfortunately, I'm wrong. I gave my oldest 2 weeks to really think about whether he wanted to talk to my sister or not. I figured that the decision he made at first might have been made out of anger, so I wanted to give him time to make such an important decision. Ultimately, he decided that he did actually want to talk to her. I have to admit I was a little bit surprised, but we set up a Zoom call between them anyway, of course with me supervising. Right before the Zoom call he admitted to me that he wanted to talk to her, just to see if she'll say sorry. She did not say sorry. Actually, she opened the call with, "Hello, it's been so long. I guess you're ready to come home with me now." And then she noticed that I was sitting there with him, and almost immediately launched into accusations about alienation and how I have to give the kids back now or she'll call the police and say I kidnapped them. My oldest was very obviously disgusted. He asked her if she was going to apologize to him, and she actually had the audacity to ask what she had to apologize for. At that point, he just shut off the Zoom call. I asked him if he was okay, but he spent the rest of the afternoon in his room by himself. That night he told me that he never wanted to talk to her again. Ever. I told him that never is a long time, but that we weren't going to make him talk to her if he didn't want to, and we were never, ever going to give him back to her. He told me that never is a long time. We told him that in this case, it meant never, and I'm still shocked. I don't know what happened to my sister. She was my best friend as a kid. She was almost my second mother. She was sweet and caring and nice. I just don't know how all that changed so fast. Or maybe it didn't change that fast and I just never noticed until it was too late and I was driving 4 hours away at midnight to pick up 3 little kids, one of which I didn't even know existed. Before now, I honestly never considered myself as their parent, even after I legally adopted them. More like I was just taking care of them long term. But now I realize that those kids are my kids, and they're going to be my kids for the rest of my, and hopefully their, lives. Thank you for all of your help, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic day, not an idiot. And when school starts back up, make sure you make the situation very clear to the school. And daycare for the little one as well. There's a good chance she will try to pick them up. Not an idiot. But I just want to say last year at my kid's school, a mother who had lost custody kidnapped her child. She just walked in, chatted with the receptionist, casually said she was picking up the kid for a dentist appointment. By the time she was caught 2 days later, they were in New York. We live in Florida. Now for the next story. Am I an idiot for getting frustrated with my mom for being in the kitchen at the same time as me? I, a female 18, have a super repetitive and predictable routine. Every morning at 9:55, I go into the kitchen to pack my lunch for work. Every morning at 9:55, my mom decides she absolutely needs to be in the kitchen as well, emptying the garbage, rearranging stuff in the cupboards, wiping down the counter, whatever. But it's like she waits for me to go to make my lunch and then comes in. The kitchen isn't very big, so she's always bumping into me while I'm cutting stuff up or standing in front of cupboards I need to get into. I've asked her politely a couple times if she could wait until I'm done. I take 10 minutes, max, but she snapped at me for ordering her around in her own house. Yesterday, I was cutting up vegetables and she came in to wash dishes and ended up bumping into me while I was using the knife. I got a small surface level cut on my finger. It honestly wasn't bad, but I was so frustrated with her that I snapped and said maybe if you didn't insist on being my personal backpack every morning, this wouldn't have happened. My parents are saying I'm an idiot for snapping at her for this, but my sister is siding with me. I feel bad for being rude, but I also think it was partially justified on my end. Am I an idiot? I got a much bigger response on my original post than I ever thought I would. A couple hours after I posted it, I realized I left a lot of information out and wanted to clarify some things, as well as provide an update on the situation. Some people asked if I pay rent or own the house. It's my parents' house, and I don't pay rent. I can't afford to move out right now, and my parents don't want to let me move out until after my first year of uni. Some people also asked if I'm autistic. I have ADHD, which shares a lot of traits with autism. I stick to a strict routine because it's the only way I'm able to remember to do everything I need to in the morning. A lot of people suggested packing my lunch at a different time, or even the night before. I had tried this before. No matter what time I went into the kitchen, my mom followed. I tried it again a couple times since making the post, and she continued to follow me. I took the advice of some people who told me to try going into the kitchen as usual, but to leave when my mom got in my way and tell her I'd wait until she was finished. I even made sure the kitchen was spotless the night before. Dishwasher emptied, no dishes in the sink, counters wiped down, and trash emptied. She followed me in, and when I said I'd wait, she said she was done. Almost as soon as I went back in, she followed me in again and claimed she had forgotten to do something. A lot of people pointed out that she might just want to spend time with me, which I hadn't thought of before. I think that maybe getting a job, finishing high school, and starting to work towards getting my driver's license made her realize I'm growing up and won't be dependent on her, living at home for much longer. Maybe she just wants to spend as much time with me as she can before I go, or maybe she doesn't feel as mom as she did before. What finally worked was, after dinner a couple nights ago, asking her to pack some leftovers from dinner in a separate container for me to take for lunch the next day. She seemed really happy that I asked, and didn't follow me into the kitchen the next morning. She even left a sticky note with a smiley face on top of the container. I also asked if she could drive me to work, which gave us the chance to chat and catch up in the car. I think she just missed feeling like I need her, which I always will. Even though we butt heads sometimes, she'll always be my mom, and I think I just needed to find a way to remind her of that. I wrote my original post feeling super frustrated at my mom, but I teared up a bit finishing this update, sending a massive thank you to all the kind people who commented and helped me work this out. No idiots here. I read your original and thought it was more the case of your mom wanting time with you than her trying to be purposefully annoying. I am so glad things worked out and that you guys are in a better place. Now for the last story. Am I an idiot for not telling my wife that I am dying? Male, 31 here. For the past 15 years, I've been dealing with a medical condition that requires constant medication and consistent doctor's visits. I had always been projected to live until 50 to 60-ish. However, a recent complication has cut that down to 12 months, 16 at best. In about 10 months, my condition should start getting a lot worse. After 12 months, I'll essentially be living in the hospital. I have been married for 4 years, no kids. I haven't had the heart to tell my wife the news. I don't even know how. We always knew I'd die younger than I wanted to, but we never expected it to be this soon. As much as I know I should tell my wife, I don't want my last year to be plagued with an impending doom. My wife and I have always talked about living abroad somewhere, maybe Australia, but we've never found the time or money to do so. I've been saving up to go to graduate school, however, I don't see much point in that now. So here's my idea. Take some of that money and take my wife to Australia for a few months and enjoy the time together. I have a job where I can work remotely from anywhere, and she has a job where she can easily find work anywhere. We can work part-time and enjoy our time together. When we get back, or maybe towards the end of it, I will break the news to her. I just wouldn't want the trip to be ruined for us by constant reminders of me dying. I know my wife, and she's very emotional, to the point where I feel like she will be crying every day and not enjoying herself. I want this memory to be a good one for her, and not plagued by my time ticking down. Am I an idiot for putting off telling her I am dying? Note, I have life insurance that will take care of her, so I am not too worried about spending this money now on this trip. And I plan on talking to her about a sperm bank, just in case she decides she wants my kids in the future, as well as promised birthday cards and other things for her to have. Hey all, I wasn't sure if I was going to make this update, but things are getting gloomier, and I feel that I owe you guys the closure you deserve, for all the help you gave me, as well as the multiple news stories lol. Although I didn't respond much, due to everything being so new and overwhelming, I want each of you to know that I read every single comment and message, multiple times, over the past year and a half. I did end up telling my wife, soon after my post. She took it rough, as expected. It ruined me to see her that way, but I knew that I needed to tell her. She did enjoy reading through the original thread though, as many of you had heartwarming thoughts and messages. We took the time that we needed to ensure that she would be set up as best as possible. Following that, we went and spent the best 4 months of my life in Australia. The experience was amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better dying wish. We came back just in time for COVID. Honestly, I was scared to death, and still am, but somehow I've lasted this long. I've lost much of my strength, and hospice has come in to set up the house and ensure that I am comfortable enough to die. I had thought that I would be dead by now, so it is hard to complain about getting a little extra time. I've left a large collection of greeting cards in possession with a friend. Birthday, first anniversary without me, remarriage, children's birth and birthdays, if she uses my sperm. I didn't tell her about any of these, just because some of these events aren't guaranteed. But I know that they can help if the time comes around. Overall, I'm content, about as content as I can be. There's a lot of things I would have done differently in life if I had known this would happen, but that's unfortunately out of my control. However, I do know that I did the most I could have done with the remaining time I was given. I am just glad that I had time left while I still had my health, as I know that many aren't as lucky. Not an idiot. The only thing I would caution you on is the future greeting cards. I had a friend who did this for his partner after he died, and while it was incredibly sweet and kind, it also stopped his partner from moving on. Every time she received a card, it reopened all of her grief over losing him. Not an idiot. Well, I'm so sorry. I don't want to be an idiot, but are you afraid? How does one handle looking death literally in the face? I can't imagine all that you're going through. I'm so sorry. I'm happy you spent those 4 months with your wife. It sounds like you're handling everything as best as you can.